back again. It's Thanksgiving week. Plenty of things to be thankful for in this off season. We'll talk about it why in the Detroit City world. Time of recording this, it is Tuesday, November 26th, just about 8 p.m. Eastern. It's been roughly 3 weeks since we've last done a City Make Spence production. The gang's all here. Garret here in the Metro East. Joining me with his fresh new computer in the Metro West. Adam, how are you today, bud?
It's setting up right now. It's like taking forever. I'm okay though.
And then
These new
technology and stuff. As you can see, also too in our productions, we finally got to unveil the mic last week. It's so fucking dope. And then the name behind City Make Spence, the man, the myth, the legend, writer, and gives you the illusion of what could he be thinking. Sean Spence, how are you today? Wait, he has disappeared. Is he having a technical difficulty?
Oh shit! I had muted my mic. You would not believe the shit you just missed. I just fucking crushed it. You should be dying laughing right now. Similarly, I think we probably left all our best stuff in the conversation we had for the last 15 minutes before we hit record. So if this episode does not pop, it's because we spent ourselves enthusiastically discussing everything and then going, oh shit, we should be recording.
We've been talking for the last half hour. It's just we didn't hit the record button.
So it's been a few weeks. The USL Championship season is officially over as of this past Saturday.
Salute.
Yeah, salute. The team that Detroit City won for their first game of the season was the team that won USL Championship in the form of Colorado Springs Switchbacks, who defeated not Louisville, not Charleston, Rhode Island, who knocked Louisville out 3-0 in Louisville.
Yeah.
The Charleston in the conference final, and unfortunately, Adam and I saw the highlights of that game at the clubhouse during the owners' meeting on Wednesday. Rhode Island knocks out Charleston, and Colorado Springs not only represents the West but crushes Rhode Island 3-0 in the final. Adam, what time was that kickoff on CBS?
Noon Eastern, 10 a.m. local time, which is a prevote time for a championship final.
I mean, you want people to decide, is it church today or is it soccer? Am I going to the morning worship service or am I going to the USL Championship game? What a fantastic conundrum for all the Colorado Springs supporters. A+, no notes.
I get it. It's college football.
Right.
CBS is, but I don't know. It seems like I know Dennis came up with a suggestion. I thought it was a good suggestion.
Our buddy
Dennis on Channel 451. Have it tomorrow night.
American citizen, Dennis.
American citizen, wrapped in an American flag. Have it tomorrow night. Biggest bar night of the year. I mean, it would have been excellent.
Yeah. Really lean into it. Have suggested drinking games. That's just also stream it on Twitch. Let's fucking go.
I know Americans think that soccer is some type of commie plot and whatever, but
listen,
I don't know.
No one is more disappointed that the plot has been set back by the recent election in this way. But we're gonna keep undermining the fabric of American society at every turn if we can. Okay.
So now that
we shall not rest. I'm sorry.
Now that you mentioned that, perfect, because unfortunately this full-on reasoning theory got debunked when we got this confirmation. But originally we were thinking, what with this USL Championship final being at noon on a Saturday, it's like when you see a USL trying to do stuff, it's like MLS is like the Republican Party of the day in that they don't give a fuck what they want to do something, they'll do it. They don't give a fuck. Whereas the USL is kind of like maybe the modern day Democratic Party when it's like they want to do, but they just don't have the ability to get what they want.
I mean, I think there may be some more now that you're saying this explicitly. I'm thinking that there may be more to that parallel than we were thinking before, because I think they both are really beholden to consultants who have no skin in the
Oh yeah.
game.
Liberals, the elite.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about USL has a tradition of bringing in some guy who's going to reform it or do something. They're going, and they have two press releases and are announced leaving in a year. It's it's leaving for other opportunities. Okay. And that's where the Democrats, being the side that's second best with the billionaires is, not a great place to be, it turns out.
And you know what? Just to kind of, expand on all of this, you get within the Democratic Party, you have a lot of working class people that are like, okay, we want more populist ideas. We want, we want, talk about free healthcare and, uh, affordable housing and, more affordable education and so on and so forth. And yet they still keep on trying to, pander to these billionaires and everything. And it's like you take the, I don't want to say the real American soccer fans, but the soccer sickos aren't invested into MLS. They're invested in lower league soccer. And I always tell everybody this
I mean,
too. I
there
tell my
are
friends too.
some who are, I mean,
Some
be
there's
fair, there are some, but
absolutely
yeah,
yes.
they're
But
far more invested in Europe than
and
in
I and I
MLS.
and I s- and I say this that that it's the same thing though too, where these soccer sickos who are invest into USL and USL 1 and NPSL and UPSL, they want more reform, and the league that has the most outlet to do that, you would think, is the USL. Yet they still don't. They don't move on anything. They sit there, they
Yeah,
talk about, pro rel 2 years ago and do nothing about it. Yeah, we're having some discussions about pro rel, and that's all you heard about it. They don't
right.
do, it doesn't seem like they do anything to move things forward. And while all of that's happening, MLS is sitting here and developing MLS Next Pro, who is basically going to, try to undercut
Well,
championship.
what they're
And
going to
I
do is
don't,
put people in their pipeline so they're never available to the USL.
yeah.
USL Championship has been picking players off the NCAA just the same way that MLS has been. But I think MLS realized that the NCAA is not turning out the level of prospect they need. They need kids
Mhm.
playing full time from 16 or so. So MLS Next Pro. Okay, it's a lot of money, but it's less money than buying every player from overseas. Plus, you can say you're doing something for the game, right? Um, I do feel like we are the forces with power that are in power now are unlikely to want to move away from the way things are being done. And I think we're the billionaires have won this generation. And um, I think it's very easy for me to envision um, Detroit City being announced as an MLS club in 8 to 10 years, as the USL continues to try to, because MLS is going to just slowly creep into every crevice here. They're going to close off any loopholes that allow something independent to thrive. They've got regulatory capture of the regulatory agency. And that is really the one thing that could upset their cart at this point is a real reformist taking power at U.S. soccer, and saying, okay, look, I need to see your books, and we need to talk about how this is all structured, and we need to make sure that there's not overt collusion between all of you, which there clearly is. I mean, the entire structure is built upon collusion. That's the centerpiece of the league, is the owners get to collude, and the players, you know, um, union gets to try to good luck, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and it's It is what it is. You know, the city will continue to exist, I believe.
But I think it also tied into kind of that discussion too, because I think a couple weeks ago, League One announced that USL League One announced that they had terminated the franchise agreement with Northern Colorado Hailstorm, sued USL from not being make payment for the Jägermeister Cup, but USL's response in a way was, well, we had to cover your wage and make sure your players got paid. Central Valley Flago and the club and the league also mutually agreed to end their agreement. So
right.
With this situation happening in League One, we don't have to talk about NISA. Otherwise, we'll be here all fucking night.
But it is an echo of a very unpleasant echo of a thing we hoped we had put behind us, right? We came to the USL, and I think we're talking, when I say we, I think from like, you know, tiny babies wearing Detroit City shit in the crib to Sean Mann, we came to USL hoping that it was going to be a safe harbor and that we could stop fucking worrying about what league we're in for like 10 minutes and stop having to prop up all these jerk off tiny ass, you know, grifter leagues. And, you know, hearing I mean, it sounds like it's possible that the Hailstorm is kind of was just kind of, they didn't vet the guy as well as they should have. He wasn't as wealthy as he needed to be to own the team, and he had some kind of personal downturn and just couldn't make payroll for a while. But he also, it seemed clear that owner group or owner, I don't know if it's a group or a dude, you know, they felt like they could continue, like they had a good thing going on the pitch, and he felt like he could kind of save the business, you know, by continuing to be good on the pitch. And USL was just like, we don't fuck with this man. Like we're not covering payroll every year, and you know, so that's enough of a, I'm sure in their agreement that's enough reason for them to just say sorry unilaterally, you're not in the league.
Makes me feel wonder with MLS talking about wanting to do the August to May schedule that a lot of the world is using right now, that perhaps this eventually fucked up way of pro rel happens in this country by way of, much like you're talking about the future of Detroit City FC maybe winding up in the MLS, where a pro-Roshan relegation in this country does come through a MLS dominant thing, and if USL does exist, it is unfortunately under the MLS umbrella.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm I'm going to completely talk about something else because it kind of derailed me. And there is no article when you speak of MLS. They are not the MLS. They are MLS. And you used it a couple times, and I was like, Sean, stop obsessing with this and listen to what he's saying, and I could not do so. So,
did I?
Yeah. I mean, they don't. You the last time you said it, you said under the MLS umbrella. Now that is fine because that's the umbrella. MLS is that as the adjective. Hey, welcome to Grammar Time with Sean. Sorry, there's just no article for MLS. I used to run an MLS blog, and trust me, I have corrected this many thousands of times. Yeah.
My ands and does apparently on videos sounds.
Okay. So, what was the question? Now that I couldn't hear.
I was saying this might be the fucked up way that pro rel seeing this type of stuff in League One, and clubs falling on a couple clubs falling under the wayside. What's supposed to be a stable organization in the term of the United Soccer League. And once again, also, this was just a couple of days after also when the announcement, which caught even Memphis 901's podcast and people in their own community off guard. Yeah. Memphis 901 ownership has ceased operations, sold their franchise stake to Santa Barbara, who was due to get a League One side, will now begin a USL Championship side. Memphis 901 done. Shame we could beat them. Santa Barbara will be starting in 2026. So this was
again feels like a NISA ass move, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're out of business and sold our rights to a different city on a different coast. Like, what the fuck? You know, I know that's a thing in American football, but like, you know, the problem is that you had you know, a team in a relatively major metropolitan area that just couldn't draw fucking flies.
Right.
And, um, you know, it was kind of the football side of it was occasionally okay, you know, um, but that's not enough. You know, you got to figure out how to tap into the local culture. And you know, a lot of these guys, they kind of, I mean, you know, USL hired Peter Wilt to go Astro to, like, you know, like do the turf work, right? To let's create new supporters groups in the cities where we're, you know, in Madison, for example. The thing is, he does the AstroTurf work kind of like in good faith. Like, he actually tries to find symbols and a vibe that connects with the local culture and put those together. You know, that's kind of a, you know, a thing he's fairly good at. Um, a lot of these, it just seems like a lot of these dudes didn't have that. They either don't have that insight in how to do that, or they didn't hire the person who has that insight, or something, because they're just clearly kind of just like, you know, in football terms, like, okay, we're going to do like a, say a, uh, um, an English League Two team here in America. That's basically the size of the budget. It'll be in the second division instead of the fourth, and uh, you know, we'll just put it out there, and people will be like, "Awesome football." And you don't have to market it. Like, you market it like it's a team. Hey, you're Memphis. You've got a team now. But like, is there a soccer culture there? You haven't connected to it clearly. Um, or there's just Memphis is a place that has no indigenous soccer culture. It is a terrible place to drop a team. You know, we could probably have like 5 teams in New Jersey.
I
Like,
argue.
you know,
Yeah. I think for me, it seems like some of the discourse that I was seeing online was in the local area of Memphis, furor because I think what was announced a few years ago was 901 supposed to begin money to, you know, fielding project to get towards building their own place as opposed to playing in the minor
yeah.
stadium. Tennessee has a sporting commission, and that money got reallocated to the Memphis Grizzlies for renovations for FedEx Arena, or FedEx Forum, I believe is what it's called, and also the Tennessee Titans' new stadium that they are building in Nashville. But so
I mean,
people,
you know, that's the game. If you're a big fish waiting for a government handout, you always got to worry that bigger fish are going to decide they want that handout, and that's exactly what happened. I mean, that was the last straw. But if Memphis were drawing like 11,000 a game to that baseball stadium, which is theoretically possible,
yeah,
um, it wouldn't. You know, none of that would be happening. You know, they would have political capital because they'd have actual money to spend on it themselves. And you know, so there's no, it's one of those things. Like, I say this a lot, there's no real economy there. Like, it's not really, it's all like artifice. You know, it's just money being injected into this thing to create football, but there's no like local network supporting it. And there's lots of teams like that in this league. You know, I mean, increasingly fewer. Like, there's more teams that are actually drawing and, like, you know, have public buy-in from the community, but like, ugh, these smoke and mirrors teams, like,
it's yeah. And my thing with 901 is you get what you put in, and I think when it came to 901, like you were talking about, Sean, I don't think the people behind Memphis 901 did enough to draw in with their community to create an endearing form of relationship where you're going to be getting where it's not just completely reliant on the results of the performances on the pitch to get people in and to get people out. Because, you know, if something loses its luster in the non-big echelon of American sports leagues in this country, we've seen it time and again, it's going to fall to the wayside.
right.
And just add Memphis to the fucking pile on that.
I mean,
And
like America is the country that made up the, if you ain't the lead dog, the view never changes, right? That just this, utter disdain for anyone that isn't completely stamping on every fucking face they meet, like, okay, well, we don't have to embrace that, all right? Like, and USL needs to find a different way to be. And you got to, like, obviously you're going to have to reach some of those people, but you're not going to reach them by matching that vibe, or like, you'd have to do it more, like, um you just need
Memphis
to.
is a tough market.
It's a tough
Sorry,
market, and
Sean, go
like,
ahead.
well, no, I just, they the same thing always happens where they figure, okay, well, the football will rescue it, so they spend some money on players, and very quickly, it takes, if you're going to do it that way, you got to like do it for like a decade, and
Mhm.
like, to just grind away and build up fans that want to, like, that really are invested in your outcomes. And 3 years into it, they're like, well, every, like, slightly decreasing the payroll every year now, like, well, that didn't quite pay off, like, let's just pull back a little bit and like really tell them, like, no, we're serious, guys. And then, pull back a little bit more, do the same thing again. This is like, we're just slowly getting worse. What is going on? Like, you're spending less money, and you're not, you know the project is clearly dying on the vine, um because, really, you have to, if you're going to go into a community that doesn't have a ready-made soccer audience, you're talking about 15, like literally a generational project.
Mhm.
Um, and, you're going to attract a few hardcore, like, and it is so hard to do everything right, and kind of not get rewarded for it for like years and years and years. And that's really what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I think people, kind of, I think, especially most of the really wealthy people I know are completely delusional about their ability to suffer. They'll watch a movie with like people, being brave or whatever. They imagine themselves as that. It's like, no, you would not be, like, you really are used to everything being very easy. And, you know, you would be spending a lot of time kind of dealing with the fact that everything is fucking hard. While, people for whom everything has always been fucking hard will be like, well, I mean, this is not that much different. Um, I don't know. I think that's what kind of happens is they get into it, they think, I can do this, and then like 2 years into it, they're like, 8 more years minimum, and they're like, fuck this, I'm pulling out, and that's, and also,
Mem-
Tim Howard came from England, so he's expecting it to be easy. I think, like, look, this is what you do: you build a team, bam, you know,
And then
it's
they
funny too because Memphis is like 50th ranked market size,
right,
um, and there's not enough room. I mean, looking at the American market, um, it just as far as like expanding that interest and getting that interest out there, you're going to be suffocated by the Tennessee Titans,
right.
and you're going to be suffocated in a sense by the Memphis Grizzlies.
I mean,
well, you're going
Um,
to be suffocated by the University of Memphis.
I think that that is the kind of commercial headwinds in the American markets is something that, like, a lot of times the international commenters, don't quite understand. That, when we say, like, we have four full-blown, like, we have 5 full-blown professional sports that are on the level of soccer everywhere else, that you're competing with, and then the NFL, which is really kind of above what soccer is in a lot of ways in terms of its, just absolutely, top to bottom commercial and cultural domination.
hey,
um
Sean,
yeah,
not only that, you have the NCAA too.
right,
You
right.
got UT, you got Memphis, you got
Well, I
Vandy.
mean, like, the NCAA is like part of like, they have a cartel built to, like, and it's crumbling, right?
It
It's
is
just
crumbling.
it's just going to be professionals all the way down. But like, that's because we're not going to, we're giving up on educating anybody ever. We're pulling back from the public sphere. That all that's going to be gone in, like, by the, I'm glad my kids are grown, is what I'm saying. um, yeah. Sorry, Adam.
I was going to say I'm dealing with that right now. So,
Um,
so yeah, Sean, you are lucky that your kids are grown.
yeah. I okay, sorry. The what was I was just okay, this is here's a question that's completely like now we're just into full bloviation, and I just want, if you're listening to this, you might want to go up to like 1.5 times because like it's about to get trippy. Um, let's imagine that MLS taps you and says, okay, we need a plan for a pro rel MLS that includes all the MLS clubs. How deep, and we're going to go like on markets basically. How deep would they go? Like, would they get down to Memphis at 50? Or would they stop at like 48 and do 24 and 24? Or, 16, 16, 16?
If you're MLS, you're going to tap into like existing, also not just MLS, but you're going to tap into existing USL markets too.
Right, you're going to absolutely like absorb the MLS chamber. I'm just like but like the question is how many markets, how big should this football Borg be in how many nodes?
There's three that they need. There's three that they need, and they to tap all top 15 markets. There's three that they don't have,
So it's
and I think that they
Detroit, what else?
Detroit, Tampa, Phoenix.
Oh, okay, so yeah.
All
And
those
like,
are those are the only top 15 markets they don't have.
so what they're going to
So
do, you think they're going to like go in and say like, we welcome USL championship clubs, and it's only going to cost $10 million to join MLS, and then to us they'll be
yeah,
like, actually zero for you guys. Like Detroit,
no,
Tampa, they'll be like,
Sean,
let's be quiet.
Sean, that's kind of like I've heard that theory going around too, as far as and people. I know people probably from the front office, because I know they listen are going to hear this theory and be like, ah,
I mean,
those
that's why I
idiots.
gave the blow. I knew we were going to go into like tripendicular territory, so that's why I gave the warning.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
People
But like, do
well,
you think that, I mean, Detroit, our path to USL championship, perhaps that was the only path. Maybe League One wasn't an option for us because if we go to USL championship or if you go to USL and be like, hey, Nisa sucks, we want to go to USL, they'd be like, great, we've always wanted you. The kicker is though, is we want you in USL championship. We
I
don't
mean,
want you in League One.
I think that probably is what happened, and I think that it's more like, well, I mean, if they put us in League One, it would have been a much easier transition.
Sure.
We basically had a League One roster in NISA, so like,
Hmm.
okay, well, it's good, we're good, but uh, that we don't. There's no, they're talking pro rel, but there's going to be no reason to move us into the championship, and they can't guarantee we win the league. Um, I just think, that they're like, we don't want to fuck around with the number 8 market in the nation, like being in the third division, possibly, like, what if it goes bad on
And
the field? And like,
hey, Sean,
yeah.
Sean, who's more attractive to MLS at this point? If we're talking about those agreements and everything, like those backdoor agreements,
Right.
those side agreements, as far as like who's going to have an easier path to MLS if there's that hypothetical pro rel that happens, if they, consume everything,
Hmm.
is Detroit going to have an easier path at promotion than a team like Lou City would? Because Lou City is obviously the cream of the crop when it comes to USL Championship. However, when we're talking about market sizes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Lou
think that,
City doesn't compare
yeah,
to Detroit.
yeah. I mean, I don't think it'll
Blue
be that.
City
I don't think it'll be that
uh,
tight. If they're gonna swallow the championship, they're gonna take more than like the three
Oh
biggest
yeah.
markets. Um, and Lou City, they're proven competent, and um, they'll just have to bring, like, if they're not billionaires, they'll have to bring in a tap a buddy, um,
Hmm.
and so I guess the question would be whether that family is willing to, you know, kind of cede some control to another
I
billionaire.
mean, John Neese is a big enough dirt bag that he would probably fit right in with the
I mean,
rest of the.
they also too, what I'm saying is they already own an NWSL side in
yeah,
racing. So I think Louisville there.
Well,
What
they're
about
invested in an NWSL set
true?
because
What
that's
about
remember it's
Yeah.
all that's single entity too.
Yeah,
true?
I mean, it's yeah. I'm sorry, Garrett. Did you want to move us off of our
Yeah.
incredible bloviation? Is that what
Yeah,
happening
no.
there?
Oh, I was gonna say, what about Indy? Or
I
do you
mean,
think?
But
yeah, probably. I mean, a lot like none of us are making the transition without a new billionaire buddy, right? That's
yep.
that's that's the deal. This is feudal. It's being dispensed to the other dukes and counts, and we can shriek about it and shit ourselves, and it doesn't matter because we're the commons and we don't fucking matter.
And
Um,
it's such a great way to put it, Sean. It's feudal. I love that. I
so
I
that
love
like
it.
we would
I
have,
yeah.
yeah, we'd have to find like but it would probably be like the Ford family, you
Yep.
know.
I was just
Um,
gonna say that, especially with our being that we're neighbors to their shiny upgraded palace on Michigan
right.
17th.
Well, and they're I think the Ford family is really reaping some rewards from the Lions doing well, and like they're kind of realizing like, oh, it's nice to have the people of this area like us. That is cool.
It's
um,
different. It's different.
yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Weird,
Like,
but
like we don't have to be defined by our great grandfathers, horrific and corrosive racism that helped put America nearly on the path to fascism. We don't have to dwell on that. We can
Yep.
we can be cool right now, and everybody will think, oh, they're cool. Um,
real quick, one other announcement that came out today and around the USL before we dive into Detroit City FC contact. The team that we decided to completely disrespect, both in person, talking about them beforehand, talking about them after that, team that we weren't sure if they were even going to fucking exist after this season, Miami FC.
oh yeah,
They had an announcement today that Dade County looks like that they are approved the site plan SPH, which stands for, as I'm trying to wait because obviously USL Championships internet moves as slow as sports performance.
such a bad site.
Yeah, in Homestead. Is this like a pie in the sky dream that
I mean, I think at this point you have to take it at face value, right? Like, and we did hear like, no, Miami, they're not going anywhere. Like, it does look that way, but they're they've got plans, and then we started hearing stadium, and this is the deal. Now, I don't know how a sports performance place in Homestead can bankroll a stadium project. Um, but let's say this is possibly like, you know football has a rich tradition of incomprehensible income streams. And I would put forward that if you were likely to see one of those in a sort of Wild West America business environment, that a very good place to look would be Miami, Florida. And so we'll keep an eye on that. Let's just kind of tab it for later. How is this happening? Who is investing in this club right now? Like what? Okay.
West Palm Beach. Maybe it's Donald Trump.
Oh,
I mean,
dear.
well, I'm just saying, like, like, I think we could be seeing like a kind of a dramatic break from like sort of a rules-based business order, where it's more like what you see in less sort of countries where the FBI isn't up your shit, right? Where corruption and boldness go hand in hand to create winners, you know. And I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, Garrett.
Yeah.
Garrett, before we move on to Detroit City stuff, and I know we need to get to Detroit City stuff because this is Make City Make Spence, not anything else.
Not like
But good side.
Make American soccer. Well, not Make American Soccer Make Spence. Like I gotta get Sean's thoughts on the rumor. This is the biggest rumor in American soccer, and Sean,
I have no idea where you're
George
Oh.
Junkai potentially out at the Michigan Stars. That's the rumor going around right now. The Michigan Stars may be returning to Nisa
Yeah.
with George no longer at the helm. I mean, it's just a
Well,
incredibly sad development.
yeah. It really, you know, it would make me sad if I learned that the last swirly at Keyworth had been given. um, uh, George, uh, I think he didn't quite understand how he was coming across as a heel when all of this began. Um, but he surely um, made it clear that he intended to double down at every turn once he did know. Um, and we all know people like that, and we generally try not to associate with them if it's at all possible. And so I am not sad to miss Mr. Chunkai. I first met him. The very first thing when I was a writer, if you don't know, I wrote for the club in 2018. I was kind of the writer, and the first thing I did was go to open tryouts. And the first person I met was George Chunkai, who was there with his son Steven to try out for Detroit City, and he thought because I came in with a clipboard and like a phone and stuff that I was one of the scouts. And so he pitched me his son very quickly. Spent last year at Grasshoppers, could only play in the junior team because of some problems with the visa, but probably would have broke, made it sound like he was really on the verge of being a League One player in Switzerland. But for some ill luck, and fortunately Detroit City was stumbling upon this gem today. And after he kind of gave me his spiel, I said, okay, well, that's interesting. And I started writing things down, and he repeated everything. And I said, so I'm not one of the scouts, I'm a writer. And he was just like turned off. It was like, ugh. I'm like, I work for the club, I'm not, but yeah, I work for the club. And he was just like, well, my son's good. Like kind of wandered off, and and then I met Lindsay. I mean, I guess I met Lindsay a couple times before that, but I met Lindsay, and she was like, "Oh my God, what's going on there?" I was like, "Yeah, that's this guy," and she
Get away from me, you surf.
Yeah. But I'm not surprised that he's started investing in sort of in lower league teams overseas, and putting Steven on their rosters. I think his current club is like undefeated when Steven doesn't start, and nearly winless when he does start, and yet he starts half the games. So
there's an article on footballplanet.si about Mira's coach trying to, unsure of his future, having a lot of meetings with George.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Like, dude, we've seen this before. You're done. He's just, he's just he's waiting for a slightly cheaper guy to come along.
For further details on the Detroit, this is where we don't often recommend our back catalog during an episode, but if you want to really see us really delve into Detroit, go back to our episode on our Majors TV YouTube content, our Open Cup preview when we played the Michigan Stars, because it is so good.
Yeah, we got our hate on, but I'm old enough to have seen the back of many hates, and I'm not sad to see this one go. I don't need any more dickheads in my life. So
we've made it almost 40 minutes in, and now
we're going to talk about City.
Now we're going to talk about City. We've chatted for 25 minutes before we hit the record button. We've talked to 35-40. Now let's talk about Detroit City FC, because we have to. It's off season, so we have to talk about some things now.
Right. All right. No, they'll call it in soccer, but
yeah. So here we go. Initial roster announcements took place 1 week ago from today, on November the 19th. Before the owners meeting that Adam and I were in attendance of the next day. We'll get to some of the stuff for the owners meeting, and then news that came out today. start off the roster updates for USL Championship. First, the players returning for the 2025 season as part of already agreed and announced contracts. Reese Williams, Alex Villanueva, Dominic Gasso, Carlos Saldana, Stephen Carroll, Devin Almumensa, and Ben Morris. Player options that were exercised: Connor Rutz, Jesse El Cedeno. Player option decline, but currently in contact with the club. Seems like it's potentially, from what we've been hearing, very, very good chance that Ryan Wims will be returning to the club, which kind of surprised us.
Awesome.
But in a good way. Decline.
No, I was hearing he missed his family. Like, oh my God, that's amazing. It means we're probably bringing his family over. Which
player options declined: Elvis Amo, Daniel Espil, James Murphy. Returning to their parent club: Victor Becerra, Laurent Kisiedu, Abdi Salim. Kisiedu, we kind of already figured with the visa. Becerra, I mean, Adam and I kind of knew in person with that performance against Tulsa with the Chicago Fire scout, or that could have been Becerra's dad behind us. I'm not sure. And we knew Abdi Salim had dealt with a couple injuries during the year, which really hindered his time with us on loan.
Yeah. He apparently was here the whole time. Like, he just was injured like the whole time. He came close to getting back. He made the bench for a couple matches and then got kind of dinged up again.
And I think that really affected, because Danny Dicio's plan, bringing him in, was to give Stephen Carroll and Devin Almumensa some rest.
Right.
Fixtures. And it still seems like, that seems to be a goal amongst other things to get right for 2025. So, Sean, we already know about the guys coming back in this announcement here. We knew about Ben Morris got his extension.
Mm-hmm. Devin got an extension.
Yeah, 2 years and a club player option for year 27. That was announced, I think, a couple days before that initial thing. Connor Rutz, Jesse El Cedeno back. What are your thoughts? So we'll start off Ben's extension. Connor and Jesse El's player options picked up. The 3 declined: Elvis, Daniel Espota, James Murphy.
I'll start with the declines. Elvis was one I think we probably all felt was coming, because he's obviously got a lot of ability, but he's also, pretty old and was hurt half the year. And never, apparently he was healthy the last, few weeks that he wasn't playing there. And so he just kind of failed to win Danny's trust back. And he did not look explosive as he did in the early season to me. Like, he looked like he had lost half a step in that transition. Danny Espeleta, he was kind of he's a kind of a roster churn kind of player. He was a guy we picked up late off free agency. Like, all right, he's played hard and maybe he's got a little something. Let's give him a chance. But he never worked his way into the 18 reliably. When we had some fixture congestion in the middle of the season, he got some run out and created a couple of moments I can think of, but never couldn't create the final pass or put the shot on goal. And it's like, well, this is what professional football is like. It's like, okay, we gave you 80 minutes, it's not happening. James Murphy really surprised me, because whatever his negatives, which I think, the persistence of the yellow cards is a slight negative. In the, not that he never got dismissed, but that means he's playing kind of cautious, tippy-tappy, a lot of minutes. And you really want your defensive midfielder to be able to give up a yellow card in a crucial situation in the last 10 minutes. And James never can, because he's always carrying a yellow. But I feel like that's the thing that can be tweaked in his game, just, work on not leaving it, like tackling without leaving his feet more. He does leave his feet a lot. And he, I thought he was at times very good in possession. He has decent vision, range of passing, but his passing is not super reliable. Like he does get into little valleys where he's producing a lot of turnovers. So, I guess they feel that the thing I'm talking, I really value what James brought to the table this year. But I don't know the market, obviously, the way Danny and Trevor do. And it could be that they just can like have superior free agent options like in their head. They're like, okay, but he's so much worse than this guy could get. And I'm, maybe we're about to announce one of those guys, in the next few weeks. I don't know. So yeah, James is the one that puzzles me, but I also know that my knowledge is limited.
Then Connor and Jesse else, Connor Rutz, Daniel picked up.
Yeah, your option picked up. I mean, it's your last year of your contract, right? So you're on the clock to earn another deal. I expect we're going to see a lot of either they're going to kind of wither, or they're going to come in to preseason in very good shape and look good, and be really pushing for places in the lineup very early because they've got no comfort left. If you're going to stay in football, you need to earn another deal. So I think that Connor is a guy who clearly has some struggles from just a pure ability standpoint in the USL, but he started to adapt his game in ways that have been really useful, and he seemed a fantastic, like I would call him like kind of a channel forward. Like he likes to play in the channel. He's got enough size. His combination of like tirelessness, reasonable pace, and good size and ability in the air is not just like laying on the ground to be picked up everywhere. I think he's useful. So I don't know. Hopefully he'll do well. Josiel, I think, is a guy that they, I suggested that maybe they might be thinking of him as a wing back if we stay in this five, but maybe not. Like I think they think he's a guy. He's a left footer who's got some mobility. So, similarly, like Connor's description, just left footers, not thick on the ground. So we'll see. What was the?
So we talked about that, and before we talk about what came out today, Adam was with me at the owners' meeting last week. We had popped a question. Kudos to Danny and Trevor and crew for taking it and not trying to skirt away from the question.
No comment.
So 6 names that were not on that list of that roster announcement, and that was the out of contract players.
Right.
As Michael Bryan, Brent Levi's, Matt Sheldon, Yazid Matthews, and Lai Jop. Well, Lai Jop, we had confirmed, and we'll get into that, was announced returning. That deal was announced officially today. 2 years option. We don't know if it's club option or player option. We'll just say an option.
Might be both.
Might be both.
Yeah.
For the 3rd year. But the comment that was made about the gentleman about the out of contracts is there was talks to be made with some of them that was looking on potentially bringing back some of these guys that were out of contract. This was not including Lai Jop because originally announced for those at the owners meeting, then made completely official today was the Lai turn. So, Adam, anything else you wanted to throw in that, or anything that, because obviously we've talked.
We're going to talk about the live thing, or is this transitioning to the live thing?
This is the live thing, but before we get into the live,
okay.
Adam, did you have anything you wanted to add, or what you're feeling like in regards to some of these especially news relating to any of the out of contracts?
No, I echo a lot of what Sean was saying. Little surprised by James. Sean, you made it good. You analyzed that very well when you said, as far as, the yellows could be a problem, especially late in games when you may need your midfielder to take a yellow, and you couldn't do it because he was already on a yellow. I was a little surprised by Jessiel coming back. I was actually glad though that he was coming back. I liked I think that there's more potential with him that wasn't quite unlocked this year. Um, so I'm excited. I'm a little hesitant in that to have that excitement just because I was really excited about Cy Goddard when he came here, and we know how that
Oh,
came about. But
wow.
I don't
Yeah,
know
I'm
when.
like making the sign of the cross here. Like, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw
no,
the name.
it's
Any
yeah.
that
um.
23.
But I think, based on, his ability to create when he was at Oakland, and I knew when we brought him over, that's, something that we were missing when Allie left. Um, I would like to see a full season, an off season, with City, and that full
Right.
season with Danny. I'm excited to see what, potential he has and what he can bring to the table with this, with the
Right.
club. But
Well, and I think that
um,
he's at an age and probably a price point where he doesn't need to be like, a first 11 guy who's getting
mhm,
1,800 minutes to be worth it, on the roster. Like he could be a change up attacker, a rotation guy. It's a squad game. And
yeah,
so, like the tendency, I think, for most people, and for me, when I first started playing Football Manager, is to spend all your budget on your starting 11. But injuries and fatigue are real, are like a lot of what you grapple with during a season. Like
yeah.
in terms of like making decisions and having to change things up, it's injuries and fatigue. Like so you need to plan the whole squad with those things in mind, and that's why you tend to see players who had a big injury just get cut, because it's like it's not you're saying like you're not saying, oh, I think he's absolutely going to suck. You're saying I surely do not want to deal with that again. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know um so, okay, let's let's find someone who's maybe a little more healthy. Um, uh, yeah, I hope that I think it's a really good point that Jeff Teal came in mid-season, so he didn't have the preseason. He now he was here quite a while, and didn't win a lot of minutes, but we weren't seeing him in training, right? And if they're asking him back and paying him, they must see some
They see
potential in
something.
him, right?
Yeah.
So I that makes me excited. Like, okay, good. Like, I trust our scouts. So, like,
Absolutely.
wow. If you, like, I haven't seen it, but well, I don't know if I would. Like I'm not that expert.
I,
But
this is where I think it ties in with Danny Dicchio, the gentleman that we've gotten to know over the course of this year. What also, Sean, you've kind of
I
alluded
I
when we,
haven't got to know him at all,
but
I'm
you've
sure I will.
but what we were discussing about last week when it came to on the field last time. And first off, as kind of confirmed from the owners meeting, Adam, you can definitely confirm it. Danny Dicchio hates losing. Talked about extensively the anguish felt from that playoff exit for Tampa
Mm,
Rowdies,
yeah.
uh, the intense feelings, which a single-minded narrative, absolutely hating to lose and knowing while players are talented. But he's mentioned names where I know these guys, a couple different names, Alex Villanueva, like they're good, but they can score more goals. Sean, I think it goes back to your mind talk about Danny, maybe that Italian mindset in a way of he's so focused on getting the job done on the field
Mm,
that I think this is kind of leading into some of these decisions. And then the other part of that too is what we know of Danny. Maybe Adam, you can kind of you have the ability to see this on multiple perspectives with not just from here, but in the supporter end, the commitment to community and the commitment to if players are going to come to Detroit City FC under that, they have to. It's no hesitancy about coming to the Detroit. No hesitancy about being involved in this community. And Jesse Cedeno is somebody that's shown involvement in his short time in the community already with this club.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so I think that goes a long way as well. So I think that's good, like mindsets into there. Nothing completely too official new. I think we can announce on no new news on Maxi Rodriguez.
No.
Well,
But
we
I
got to
mean, but he
get
signed.
into live.
Yes.
He signed
Go
for
ahead, Sean.
he signed for Rhode Island. I mean, we know that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a matter of when they're going to announce it. That you know, the two clubs are taking up. Rhode Island's still licking their wounds from getting like you know absolutely butt fucked in the fucking championship final. So you know, probably
Uh,
shouldn't say butt fucked.
holiday weekend.
I mean, you know, non-consensually. I
Turned
don't know.
over.
Anyway,
Lo-
it was
turned,
you know it was bad for them. So
turned
you know
over
I
like
understand them. What's that?
turned over like a lobster roll.
It was
Uh,
it was rough. Yeah. Um. Uh. Lie has signed
yeah.
a 2+1 uh extension, and I really that surprised me a little bit. Like you know having a clear pathway to you know for 3 years you know being in the midfield for 3 more years. I mean you're building the midfield around Lie. The other two starting midfielders are gone. You know Maxi's going to Rhode Island and you've cut James loose. um and you know that that would be more concerning if we hadn't seen Lie just kind of bloom as a player over the last couple of years. He is an entirely different player than he was when he came here, you know, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, like so much more dynamic on the ball. In fact, it seems like he's like worked in his own time or something on dribbling. Because I don't remember the sauce that we saw from Lie this year at all.
Yeah.
A couple years, you know, occasionally he'd do something like he'd burst forward, but mostly he was playing as a you know defensive mid. Um, and this year he really came into his own as an integral part of a fully functioning offense, where you know it's one of the 4 or 5 options to build through midfield is Lie takes the ball and just like goes on this mazy run all the way into the attacking zone, and then we set up the attack.
Yeah.
And you know, it really is useful. Like when you're game planning how you're going to deal with this or that. Like having a guy who can just say, okay, well, if I'm open for a moment, I can surge through this space and just that's the end of the conversation. Like,
And Danny Dicchio and Adam, you can attest this from seeing Danny around, being around this. Live Job is somebody that Danny Dicchio, I think, not only is valued and glad to be back, but it's almost seeming like, how can I make this, put him in to get the best out of this team? And I think hearing that is
wild.
kind
Yeah, that's
kind
great. It's so great.
Unfortunately, too, things that we're hearing too, because I know we're going to be getting in. Which Sean, you have it hard out at 9:20, right?
Yeah. I want to. Everyone can celebrate today. Kaya got her driver's license. She passed her test.
Nice.
I know. Now
3 hour
she doesn't have
marathon.
a car, or she hasn't. I don't think she has the actual license yet, but she can drive. I still have to go get her, but you know, she's
That's
gonna.
awesome.
I think she's got a lot of money saved up for a car, so she's gonna go buy something better than I have, and
So
you know.
we're about to go prog territory in the future and have part ones, part twos, because
Yeah, you know my favorite band. This is if you want a picture of what a nerd I was. Okay, my favorite band for like years and years as a kid was Yes.
yeah,
Uh,
motherfucker.
yeah, my uncle left Fragile from Yes at an album at our house one time, and I listened to it like over and over and over again. Shine Deliria Primatoris. You know, I mean, oh my god. Anyway.
Without Yes, you don't have Rush, and you don't have those seven prog bands paved the way. That's all.
I mean, I value Yes for the thing they were, you know,
Yeah.
not just the thing they birthed, but yes, it's true.
Right.
Rush, you know, arguably Radiohead. It's in some which is you know the band that has like swallowed my soul for the last like 30 years.
So much talent. Adam, what are you about to?
Yeah, because I know we're going to be getting into some, rumors and stuff that we're hearing. Something that we've heard is that it sounds like Lie's injury that kept him out
The
of
sports are
of the uh of the playoffs and a good portion of the final, half of the season. Um, it sounds like it's a little more serious than what was anticipated, and he is going to be out. He may be out for, when they actually start next year.
That is
Dealing with
suboptimal.
injury. Yeah. So it sounds like
It's
he's going to
like,
be out for training camp, and it sounds like he's going to, he may not be ready to go when the season starts. So,
oh my
um,
fucking God. Lost year.
I
Oh
was
my,
thinking,
but
like,
I felt like, yeah, he's gonna have, be working his way back into this. This isn't something. This it's a fracture. Sounds like in the sports hernia area. Either had the procedure or going to need to get it done. Obviously, you got to work with that and get into the groove of that. So they're going to use preseason to get him to start getting in, but he's not going to be like 100% ready to go.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's, I mean, I'm about to start questioning you like I'm questioning like the technical staff. Like, do we have any indication where this is a gate type of thing? Is this a long-term problem that we're going to have to mitigate in some way, or is this a one-off? Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
Because I mean, really, this is the nightmare, right?
Yeah.
When you're a professional club, you're like, we just signed this player to a 3-year deal, and they're injured for 6 to
no, but
8 months.
perhaps, Sean, perhaps though that that's the good news. Maybe they. I mean, because we know how sports
I
is.
mean, I
Maybe
think
they
you're
don't
bright siding
sign
this
him.
really well right now. I just want to
Yeah,
say that.
maybe they don't sign him, to that extension if it is going to be a problem. So,
Yeah.
maybe the extension is an indication that it isn't a problem. It's just something
Okay.
that they're just going to have to,
Yeah.
manage, during the winter and yeah, to start the season. So,
And I
um,
think too, they the club is not. This isn't the first time the club recently has had to do this. See Devin Mumensa,
Yeah.
coming back from the ACL, getting the 1-1. That 1-1 has turned out into that new deal, which is very prosperous. Also, congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Mumensa, officially tying the knot this weekend. So,
Oh wow.
very happy.
Yeah. Awesome. Congrats.
I saw that. So, point being is, I think they trust the progress in line, knowing in the growth to get this done, or he's being close to get done. Like, run with this. We got you. Now on to what we've been hearing.
Yeah.
Mentioned first during the owners meeting and other rows, and we talked about it in our little post owners meeting mulleting. 2 to 3 players are ready to go. They're just not ready to be officially announced by the club yet. We have no idea when that's going to be taking place. Paperwork, timing. Sean, you know this as well as any.
Yeah.
About
Well, I mean, it means we're not signing free agents, because it means we're having to wait for their ITC to clear.
Mm-hmm.
So we're signing people who played for somebody else last year.
Yeah.
That's one thing we can definitely say.
Yeah.
Which is, good news. We're not signing like people off the street. Awesome.
So when we are a couple of positions covered in here, wide, centrally to get defense, up top, there is an intent to bolster the midfield. That is an additional goal in addition to these 2 to 3 that are in the pipeline. It's the key thing. I think another thing too is last year we went body heavy. This year it's what is quality over quantity as well. Not going razor thin, but not going as deep as we did.
Yeah, I mean, we were routinely rested, like leaving 2-3 healthy guys off the game day 18. And I think they probably look at that and think, okay, well, maybe that's misallocated resources. Like, let's say that's 3 guys that are always missing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a minimum $90,000 that you can put into other deals to.
There is also rumblings that there's going to be more in the budget to bring in. So,
I would hope so. I mean,
yeah.
Like our profile has grown massively.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, we should be seeing annual kind of like climbs in sponsorships and ticket and all of it should be like going up. Where the footprint just continues to expand.
Right.
So and that surely must be now. What I'm hoping, and what would be healthy is if they have a sort of a percentage of revenue that they expect to spend on payroll, and that just the pie is getting larger, and so that wedge is getting larger. I hope that we're not constantly trying to inflate the amount. Like we need to spend a good amount on payroll on players, but there are a lot of other considerations in running a large club like this that is community invested and all that sort of thing. There are expenses that you can cheap out on, but which, if you do, you are not a good partner, right? And a lot of clubs in America don't give a shit about that. And I would put forward that Detroit City's ethos is that they do. And that would be the final straw for me, right? Join MLS, whatever. But if we suddenly turn into like, what the Fire are in the Chicago market, just like bitter shitheads who can like sprinkle money on you, but it's never quite enough. Who automatically own all the talent in the city, so they fuck people around and try to get off cheap constantly. There was a private individual named John Dorn who paid for the Fire Academy for like a decade, because they didn't want to pay for it. And he's like, look, we need this. He was a Fire supporter and a guy who I think ran the um, commodities exchange in town. So he was a player, and he put his money into youth football in Chicago because the Fire would not. And he let the Fire brand it Chicago Fire because he was a Fire supporter. So I mean, I've seen those kind of things. I've seen what it's like to have a club that is trying to do the right thing. They're trying to say the right thing and appear to do the right thing, but is at no level is clearly intending to actually do the right thing at all. And that would be the transition that would send me away.
Right.
So I know that's a lot. But yeah, we don't need to play those games really. We're a legitimate business that is legitimately growing revenue, and I don't think revenue is going to explode. We're not going to suddenly triple the value of the sponsorships, but they should go up faster than the rate of inflation, surely.
I do, from what a prior owners meeting a couple of months ago, that's a couple normally around this time or even in the beginning of the year, they're still finalizing sponsorship deals with partners. All that stuff was already taken care of by end of summer, beginning of fall.
Right. Well, and I don't think there's like it's not going to be as hard to sell. Like we're a proven thing, and like kind of the national face of the USL Championship, really. In their marketing, like it's us, and like the isolated moments from other supporters groups, and like so yeah, those like I just hope that we're going into those deals ready to say, okay, well, that's a great offer, but we'd like 15% more. And not just automatically going, oh, you want to renew? Awesome. Fucking A, it's something else we don't have to handle, which is what you do if you're like completely understaffed and like stretched thin. Somebody offers you to like complete some of your work legitimately for you. Maybe it's not A plus, but whatever. Like just take something off my plate. So my hope is that TJ or whoever's doing the deals is not overworked. And
not TJ anymore because he's
over. I don't. Yeah, that's right. He left. I can't remember who's doing the deals now, but
I forget too.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Megan and Avi, I think, are handing out that part. So, Adam, any other points, real quick? Owners meeting. I know there was a good discussion, like on kind of the thing you were talking about, Sean. Concern, I think, about communication or match day communication or flooding of email communication. That got to see.
Do we want to mention the position that we were hearing?
Yeah. So rough positions. Briefly, I know I mentioned it a little bit. Focus in near right wing back, center of defense, forward.
Well, what we've heard is that the right wing back is one of the best in USL.
Western Conference.
Western Conference. I
I
have
mean,
no idea.
I think Sacramento has a right wing back that's pretty good, and that is out of contract.
We're here in
I can't
Sacramento too. We're here in Sacramento. I don't know, but
I
Sean,
can't
I
remember
don't
the
know
dude.
if that's. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's for the right
Is it
wing
the
back or if that's
Jack
for the center
Sac-
back.
Jack
Sacramento,
Gurr? Is it
the
that?
right,
Is it that guy?
Sacramento was not for the right wing back, but for somebody to bring in the center defense.
Okay.
Okay, so Sacramento's so the center back is from Sacramento, is what
Yeah.
we're hearing.
I have an I when we heard this type of thing, I had an idea on who this was, being that it's Western Conference. I don't if that's who I think it is. I don't think it's from Sacramento, the right wing back. I think it's from Oakland. And then the center of defense in Sacramento. There's a couple names of mine that come to my mind when I think of that. And the up top guy, I have no idea because it sounds like it's an international move.
It sounds like
Okay.
it's an international move. It sounds like it's somebody who's been playing in Europe,
Yeah.
but
Not
isn't from Europe.
So
But
an
that sounds-
American who's coming back, or is it an
Um,
international player who's coming back from Europe?
I don't know if they're from the United States or if they're from anywhere else.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's somebody who is playing in Europe, who may be coming back. But by the sound of it, though, it sounds like that deal is a little bit more further away than what's happened with that right wing back and that center back.
Yes.
Like the negotiations sound like they're still ongoing with that
Close to five
forward.
or anything in that situation.
Yeah, so it's not Danny Trejo either. So
No, I would be psyched if it was Danny Trejo.
Oh, yeah, me too.
That dude, like I remember when he was he was like 18 years old, and we saw him he was playing for a Nisa side.
Los Angeles Force.
Right, we faced them in the final, and he got like a groin pull, and that really made the match much easier for us. I ran into him at halftime as he's in the bathroom at Keyworth. That's with his trainer, yelling at his trainer like, "I can't fucking do it." Like, I was like, "Oh, excuse me." Yeah, and then I went back out to the bench and said, "Trejo's not coming back out." So
The bathrooms at Keyworth.
Speaking of Danny Trejo, somebody that Danny Trejo's partner in crime at Las Vegas FC, Lights Messi in 2022, that unfortunately has tortured us with Tampa Bay Rowdies these past couple of years, is leaving Tampa Bay Rowdies. Cal Jennings, 19 goals last year, I believe.
Yeah, just such a smart player. He's probably going to fucking Louisville, right? Like they're just going to vacuum up every attacker that I like.
Or
but
or Europe.
Yeah, I mean, I think he would be a kind of a reach get for us, I think, financially, because I think we're positioned in the middle range for USL championship salaries is my guesstimation. And he's a fairly elite talent, I think, in MLS. Now, he's not like the best striker in the league. He is a guy who has kind of sneaky physicality, he's pretty quick. He can he's an excellent in the air. He's pretty good with both feet. He's smart, makes great runs.
Can play a few.
Can play up top, behind a striker, probably deeper in midfield a little bit, although he'd be a little bit lightweight for that. It would look like when Connor plays center midfield. Just kind of gets, doesn't have that center midfielder like eyes on the side of his head thing happening. Yeah, I would love to see Cal Jennings here. The striker thing is interesting, and the wingback, I'm not surprised that we're bringing in a wingback. I am surprised that we've poached. I don't know. I was looking at FBref to So Boubacar Ndiaye is a Gambian wingback who played 30 times for Roots last year.
Sean's already looking.
Yeah.
You know who you said Roots. You know who I'm thinking of?
Who?
I'm thinking Memi Diaz.
Oh, yeah, I can see that too.
Because if Danny says he's the second best right wing back, that's my first thought is he's thinking Jack Gurr is the best.
Jack Gurr, yeah. That's what, like when you say the best wing back and the best right wing back, you're like, shit, we're getting Jack Gurr. Like that dude is like a chance creator.
But it was the second best.
Okay. I don't think Gurr is like, profoundly outstanding from a defensive standpoint, but you don't need that if you're playing a 3. You can have one wing back who's really a winger who just creates chances, and that would be Jack Gurr.
Real quick on the shape, one thing that was mentioned: Detroit City had the best road record in the USL Championship in 2024, and part of that may have been the preference of being able to play in a back 3 when we are not at home, because
the field's so fucking narrow.
No, and I hey Sean, I know that was your theory before. I did ask Danny about that, and it's been confirmed.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's almost like you just feel like you're wasting a guy. Like, I mean, let's put one more dude in midfield. Like,
yeah. It is harder to execute our game plan at Keyworth because of the dimensions and the size.
Yeah, we wind up really pinned against the sidelines sometimes. We're trying to play in like the 2 yards around the sideline. Or the touch line. I'm sorry. Somewhere an English person is like, what are they talking about?
You fucking wanker. Why are you calling it a touch line?
Trevor's listening to this, right?
Yeah, he's just like head and hands like these guys.
Alan's gonna come back because our buddy, our Channel 451 compatriot Alan Jacobson, has been, I think he was at Leyden Orient tonight. Fucking in England, he's gonna come back with a thick accent, just call us toss pots during fucking match. You know, so we want to talk about the men before I highlight MASL real quick.
Yeah. We got 7 minutes. Go.
MASL and January 4th, home opener confirmed. The Great Lakes North Division, 4 teams: Kalamazoo FC, West Shore Ambition, Indiana United, Sean Spence from the homeland. So
they're from like Hammond, like the Gary area. What in Indiana we call the region. They're from the region.
The fucking region. Unfortunately, not my favorite team from Kalamazoo is not on here. For those that are unsure what that reference is, go check out a prior episode of 451 Tunnel Talk.
Zoo City's not on it?
Zoo City's not on it. And for those that are wondering why is
Toledo,
it
right?
Huh?
From Toledo, right?
But for those that are wondering why is this my favorite team, is because when I did an assumption, which I should never do, and assumed that when I heard Zoo City, I assumed that they were from Toledo, not
because they have a zoo.
Like, what kind of zoo does Kalamazoo? Oh,
that's right.
Okay.
Royal Oak is also Zoo City because they have a zoo there.
Go back.
I'm starting a club called Zoo City in Royal Oak.
Check out 451 Tunnel Talk from like the second weekend in January, where you can hear this fucking nonsense that I do remember that one.
It was great too because we always told all the players who were interviewing that Garret fucked up and thought Zoo City was from Toledo.
Everybody was laughing because we beat Zoo City 11-2 at Keyworth, and we broke their souls literally.
Yeah, we did sort of like snatch the souls out of their bodies and leave them shambling for the rest of the league season. And that's how we're going to start this year. We play them home and away, like away and home, like it's a. So we're gonna de-soul them early. And,
I can't wait.
First game of the season for Detroit City is in Kalamazoo on December 21st. More dates to be officially announced when that's set up. MASL did announce their games are going to be streamed on YouTube this year. That was cool.
That's fantastic. I would love to see like Kayla Addison get like a sponsorship deal. for somebody. Like just because she could score, she might go off. You know, I mean,
20 goals.
Yeah, you know, these are like you've got women who have not been training like hard full time for a reason year round previously, and now they've been doing it for like 18 months. I think we might see some players that have really like exploded.
Kit news. Kits should be unveiled in December, middle of December. Due to popular demand, well done supporters. I believe one, if not both of the kits will be on sale. I know one for sure. There's been more that was on due to the demand last year for why aren't these kits on sale?
Yeah.
So I think we're about there on there. We got 3 minutes. So
I mean, I would say like if like I don't know why anybody would be listening to this who isn't already committed to trying to get to Keyworth to the clubhouse for these games, but like you should get to the clubhouse for these games. Like it's a vibe. It's totally different in a lot of ways. It has a very kind of like it feels to me like some old school in some ways. You know, kind of rowdy and silly and fun, and like the women are fucking great, and it's just, you know, it's great.
Yeah. Coach Danny Evans is full of energy and fire, and it's great to see.
Yeah. Yeah, what a competitor. Amazing.
Yeah. So we have all that. We recommend going by the boards and literally smashing the boards like it's at
we're gonna get a broken glass highlight at some point here,
as long as we don't get done to us. All right, we got a couple minutes. Sean Spence, the man, the myth, the legend. You can be found on a variety of ways. Where can they find you?
I am Shield Chafing almost everywhere, which is SEYLD SEEAFING. That's on the decaying husk of Twitter and Blue Sky and the email. I am also the proprietor of Words About Shapes on Patreon. It's called Words About Shapes.
$3.
$3 American. Although they're free, you know, some of the stuff gets released for free, and you can just have a free membership if you're, you know, skint. Yeah.
Adam.
It's still fork over $3 because it's the best Detroit City blog.
Damn right.
TMS the next Adam on that deteriorating hellscape, like Sean said. Twitter. I'm also on Blue Sky now. Same handle.
Grats.
Yeah. It's great. It's fun. Also check out majorsports.com, Detroit at the majorsports.com, youtube.com/majorstv, and all that good stuff. So
GM Comats, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, and as of today, so we have the trifecta of skeeters.
I love that that the community decided to settle on Skeet as the name of the, you know, like the equivalent of a tweet, and that the, you know, now that there's like money coming into Blue Sky, they're desperately trying to shut that down. Like, don't call it Skeet, man. Don't want to call it Skeet. You know, and the community's just like, fuck that, man. We're skeeting all over the place. I just skeeted on my monitor. Like, okay.
Channel 451,
Fantastic.
451DET. That's still only on Twitter. Email 451DET@gmail.com. Channel 451 on YouTube. Probably doing an episode next week. So you get to see all the rascals and all the numbskulls and all of our favorite people in that same. So,
rascals and numbskulls.
I was going to call them nutsacks, but I feel like we had last week too, about the last episode about that. Yeah, so we've covered quite a bit. Covered quite a bit of time, but we gotta get going. Holidays are here. Stuff has to be, shit needs to be taken care of. So Adam and Sean Spence, who's got to run out the door. Garrett here. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll keep until the next time. See ya.
Bye.